And we're joined by Henrik and Steenholdt from Empyre. How are you guys doing? You all right?
Pretty good, thanks, Lee. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, all good this end, thanks.
Glad to hear it. So when we air this, guys, you know, as you know, you will have just launched your acoustic album, The Other Side. To me, it's really easy to overlook an acoustic album. It can be very, very easy to go, oh, well, it's just copies on acoustic guitars. But like my favorite acoustic albums, like Alice in Chains, MTV Unplugged, and all along those lines, this album seems to have real depth to it. It's not just straight copies. There's a lot of reimagining, in some cases a little bit of rewriting and certain things. Was that an influence on you guys at all, the whole MTV Unplugged thing? Or?
Yeah, it's funny you should say MTV Unplugged, because mutually across Empyre we're influenced by, like, kind of part of our influence is the Seattle 90s grunge scene. But the MTV Unplugged series of concerts, you know, from the likes of Pearl Jam, like we said, Alice in Chains, you know, the iconic Nirvana set, I think Bon Jovi did when Bryan Adams, even George Michael, even the pop stuff with Katy Perry doing them, where the artists reimagine their songs, sometimes taking on completely, you know, new forms and new sounds and coming out better in some cases. That's always been, like, we've always loved those concerts. So we kind of had that, you know, seed of an idea to do something like that. But with The Other Side, what we did was, rather than live, there is one live track on the album. We went into a studio and produced everything properly. So after the parts were written and the acoustic arrangements and the piano was added and orchestration, one track's got an orchestra on, we actually went to a real recording studio, sat with a producer and recorded everything as if you were recording an electric album for release. But the other kind of reason for doing an acoustic album was probably due to a bit of demand, in that most people saw us initially when we went out as a band on acoustic stages at festivals.
Okay.
And like you say, we're not kind of just going to pick up acoustic instruments and just strum out the same song. You know, we treat it really with, you know, a degree of excitement. What can we do with the track? You know, how can we rearrange things? And then people just became really fond of it. So it just tied in indirectly, kind of nicely, that we had an album to release throughout 2020, building up to today, to release date, a string of singles that have landed today when we haven't been able to be on stage. So, yeah, that's basically the genesis behind the idea.
What amazed me though was, like I say, acoustic albums, they can, if you're not clever about it, they can be bland, put it that way. But if you're clever in what you're doing, they're not. Some of them are, like, going back to the MTV Unplugged thing. But with an album like your first album, your electric album, obviously a track like The Only Way Out, which has got quite a big production on it on the electric version, it was wanting to see how you guys were going to recreate that sort of anthemic side of it. And when you brung out the acoustic version, I was utterly astounded. I think almost breaking it down that little bit showcased that side of it more. I don't know how that doesn't make sense, but it did.
I think what it did, Lee, is what we tried to do with that is actually heighten the emotional intensity in that song, and strip it right down to Did's piano part, and then
the piano part. I think is gorgeous. I love the piano line on that. It's amazing.
Yeah, which isn't even quite the same thing as I play. So for once, I do the electric guitar solo at the beginning of Only Way Out rather than Did. And what Did wrote on piano is not even quite what I play on the electric. So they're slightly different, but they're still the same song. You can still recognize it, of course, as Only Way Out. And on the production side, so after we stripped it down, then we thought, well, let's try and add an orchestra to it. So we added some violins, some cello, some bass.
As you do.
Like, I mean, why not? I mean,
why not? Why not?
As you do, you know, just like...
We had nothing better to do than to call on the BBC Symphony Orchestra, or at least their computer sample counterparts, and basically put that in there. So Did and I spent a good couple of weeks playing around with that, and working with another arranger who's got a bit more experience in arranging some of those parts than we have, to make the radio edit, which is the last track on the album. So yeah, we've played with that song, not because we weren't happy with it, but just because we thought we could do other things with it that were interesting. And as you said, that whole MTV Unplugged thing, some of the versions that people did on that just really took a song into another dimension. And Only Way Out was the first one we really chose to play around with like that.
So when you're playing these songs live now, do you feel like the electric versions have almost evolved slightly because of the acoustic versions and they're kind of feeding into one another? Or are you true to sort of the first album?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting question. I know Grant, from his perspective on bass, has mentioned that there's certain things on the other side with coming up with bass parts and reinterpreting certain melodies that he likes adding now to the electric versions that aren't on the album. So there's little bits of like that. You might hear some like high bass melodies, but you've still got the heart of the self-aware tracks. I think we'll always, do justice, to the self-aware originals. But I mean, even playing those tracks live, there's certain little things we do different live compared to the record, certain degrees of little bits of improv I might do. And
there's more crossover because basically now the end of Too Close, we probably normally play now something that's closer to the end of Too Close on the acoustic album live, especially what Did plays on guitar, than what you hear on the end of that record. So what you hear on Self-Aware is perhaps more, I don't know, like Dire Straits like, whereas what you hear on the other side is something that's a bit more Spanishy and classical. And that's now how we tend to, and we like both, but that's how we tend to end that song. Has more of a definitive ending because Too Close on the Self-Aware actually is a fade out.
That's a good way of describing it as well. A crossover there is, and we've even before actually crossed two songs into each other. We at the album party where we were in the Water Rats pre-pandemic. That was, what year were we in?
2019, November 2019, December, something like that. Yeah.
So we had the clever idea of starting with like the piano version of halfway through, going into the full-on electric version. So not all the songs are applicable like that, but certain little bits will cross over, certainly. But then again, it is just really nice to, like, we're heading off to Blackpool to play the other side live. It's going to be nice just to play the whole gig, the acoustic versions.
Is that the only time you're going to do it as a whole?
The only time
for May.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of other acoustic gigs booked for this year, but they're either not full band or we simply don't know whether we can do them full band. So we're playing, assuming it goes ahead, really hope it does, Rambling Man at the acoustic
to that, and I can't wait for that, so I hope that's okay.
Oh yeah, we're having a beer there, aren't we?
We can't.
I sure hope so, mate.
Yeah. We've agreed that it'll be fine for people to meet and have beers and talk about music.
Yeah, well, better do. And but at the moment we don't quite know. We hope it's going to be the four of us who can all play. I've seen some bands do it as four. I've seen some bands do it as two on that stage. So we're still waiting for details on which day that'll be and what we can do. Fingers crossed that'll be the full band. And again, how long the slot is? Can we play the whole of it? Can Did bring his keys?
Yeah.
So we can do My Bad and Only Way Out. We simply don't know. So the only time we know we're going to be able to play the whole album is Blackpool on May the 30th. So socially distanced gig, but we did one of those back in September time, and it worked out great.
Yeah, it did actually. It worked out fine. People still really enjoy it, and people are so desperate for it, even more so now. So there is, if you want tickets for that, if any of your listeners are local to Blackpool, it's a great venue. rockpeoplemanagement.com. You can, or you just head to our socials and things. You'll find details on there.
We'll share it on our socials while this interview's airing as well, so people can.
Yeah, we're down to the last few. So if you do want to hear the album live, we'd love to see you. And it is a social distance thing, but
that means you get table service. You don't even have to walk to the bar. You can sit your ass down and stay.
There's a silver lining.
Yeah,
there is. You got to think of these things because there's nothing worse being down the front and going, either I would need a drink or I need to go get rid of some drink.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're in the middle of a set and you're going, I'm really enjoying this, but I've got to move. No one likes being at that. So table service, perfect.
Exactly.
So what's day are you guys playing on Rambling Man Fair? Do you know? Is that being thingied?
So all we know at the moment is what we're going to do on the electric side. So we open the prog stage on Saturday.
That's a great stage.
Yeah, I mean, we were so pleased to get that rather than do. I mean, we wanted to play Rambling Man, come what may, but to do that rather than the Rising stage, and to get straight onto one of the bigger stages, just.
And the opening,
so pleased.
The opening hangover slot from the Friday night, people are just getting some breakfast and they want to, hear some music and stuff. That, as you know, that was our spot at Winter's End, where you saw us. And that worked out pretty well, didn't it? So
it did. It certainly did. It woke me up. So there we go.
Yeah. So hopefully in Kent we'll have the same impact of Rambling Man. That's the goal.
Have you guys? I'm not sure if you played Rambling Man Fair, but have you?
No, this is our first time.
Have you been to Rambling Man Fair at all?
Nope.
Man, you guys in for a treat. It's a hell of a festival. The prog stage is always fantastic. My wife is a big prog head, and she educated me these last 10 years because I was straight up hard rock as such. But no, she's okay. But some of the bands I've had on there over the years, I've always wanted Stephen Wilson to headline. That's the only thing. I think
that would be great. I mean, to see something like Pariah and to hear something like Pariah, it would just, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, you guys you're talking about the grungier side of your things, but we were sat in there while we stood there, me and my wife Jo, while we were watching your Winter's End, and it was like the only way I was saying like part Alice in Chains, part Anathema. That was the only way I could go.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big prog element in things, so I can see why you guys on the prog stage. I think the acoustic album though almost highlights that more because the songs are allowed to flow that bit more, I guess. But
it's really interesting what your wife's saying about like the prog elements. I mean, and we, all of us in the band, love hearing how they interpret our music. Especially if they say it's emotionally moved them or something's resonated. We had a message through the other day that said, just a new fan said he checked out Cuts the Core acoustic, which is on the new album. He's been struggling with his mental health recently. I think you got back to him, and he just said, "This has really helped me this week." Just
that's got
one song,
stuff like that.
That's what that's really like music is for that. It's all for the emotional connection. It's art and everything. And we all want to be rock stars and everything, but it's that element is really cool. But when you people say you've got prog elements and things like that's great, but also there's definitely acoustic elements, obviously, with the other side, but with rock and pop influences and blues, and I've heard people say, someone, one of the organisers of Call of the Wild Festival, which we're playing at as well this year, he said, "F me, it's like Pink Floyd and Soundgarden have had a love child." And like Chris Cornell is probably like one of the most iconic rock singers of all time. My second favourite. And like Dave Gilmour, I love his guitar playing. He's not one of my favourites, but to get that kind of comparison, there's two completely different genres there. People are identifying.
It's probably like
it's a good thing.
The Soundgarden, Pink Floyd, the Alice in Chains, Anathema, like those kind of comparisons are probably more useful to someone who's never heard us than saying, oh, they're prog or they're NWOCR or they're modern rock or they're whatever, because at least you got some reference points with two bands to go, like they're somewhere in the middle of that. And sometimes they're further to Soundgarden and sometimes they're further to Pink Floyd or whatever it may be.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, because if you can describe another band to someone, if whether they love it or hate it, Greta Van Fleet, if you like Led Zeppelin, if you're a big Led Zeppelin, you're probably gonna enjoy some of their music because there's some similarities there. And like if you're talking about Empyre, you might say, well, if you like Audio Slave, there's a little bit of Audio Slave in some of the, just there's elements of that. So that's a good way to reference things.
So I think those in there, like all bands are a melting pot of their various influences.
Yeah.
Some bands all have very similar influences. Just from the requests that you guys have made for the rest of the show, you guys, although obviously are on the same wavelength, have very various genres of music you like, and it's all gone into the melting pot that's Empyre. And like you say, you have got that mix of like the proggier side and the grungier side of things, and there's some pop element, there's some definite pop selection. That you can't write a hooky chorus and not have a pop element.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. But you know, it's just I don't know. I think people get scared of certain words when they say, like, if you say prog to people, a lot of people go, oh, they're expecting 20-minute songs all about dragons and elves. But
yeah, there is that kind of thing. But yeah, they don't necessarily expect like an awesome Dream Theater riff, or like you said earlier, Stephen Wilson with like Pariah, doing something atmospheric, and
or even like Permeating, which is like a 3-minute ABBA-esque song that he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's so. He's a perfect example of like the diversity of like. Are you listening to his latest album?
Yeah, I love that record. I was just slated, and I absolutely think it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, I really quite like. I like some of it. I mean, you mentioned ABBA. There's one song where he's blatantly ripped off in the nicest possible way. "Summer Night City" by ABBA. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big ABBA fan, as he is.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he knows how to write a melody, and he knows how to write a pop song, and he's showing he can do all these different things, as well as write an anthemic epic like Pariah, as well as all the other stuff.
You would like
done. So it's like, yeah. So
yeah,
you know, prog these days can be so many different things.
Well, this is it. Like when my wife's huge Stephen Wilson, the Porcupine Tree fan. We've seen him a few times, and like when we saw him at the Royal Albert Hall, and he was doing everything like you say from Pariah, some more anthemic-y stuff. Then he's doing, like I say, Permeating, like 3-minute pop song that he's done. Then you get something like Vermilion Core or Lazarus or All the Wonders of the World, and it's just like, and then people get confused when he does something different. You know, this guy's never written the same song twice.
Yeah.
But to me, it always sounds like Stephen Wilson. Like there's various elements to your guys could bring it back to the album. There's various elements of Empyre that we discussed, but it all sounds like Empyre. Whether it's more on the heavier side, more the anthemic, you can tell it's you from the guys from the first 3 notes.
That's great. That's great. One of the best accolades to have. That is, yeah. Especially for musicians, just if you can have a unique sound and a unique distinctive quality that within 3 seconds you can identify.
Don't get me wrong. Some bands have got their sound and that's it. And the bands that I'm a fan of, bands like AC/DC or Motorhead, they've got a sound and that's that. And you don't really want them to derive to it for much. But the bands I love the most are the bands that go where the song goes, don't get trapped by genres, write a song, that's them. And I think when you're honest in that factor, like you guys are with your writing, that's always going to shine through. And rather than going, well, we have to write this because this is what people know of us. But when you've got various elements like you guys have, obviously you've got a lot more ground to cover, a lot more areas and avenues that you can explore. And I think that's what's been an interesting album.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, I think you're going to hear more of that kind of thing as we hope we've got pretty close to finishing off our second Electric album. I think you can expect to hear, the way I like to describe it is you've got a mixture of novelty and familiarity. Yeah. So you're going to hear some stuff that is like, it could be on Self-Aware, but there's also going to be a few songs that would perhaps seem out of place on Self-Aware and going to be a little bit of a new sound for us. So, I mean, we haven't quite finished it all off yet, but on the whole, we're pretty excited about some of the new stuff we've got coming up.
Cool. So how long have you guys been working on the second album? Obviously, you've been focusing on the second Electric album. How have you been focused on the other side? I should imagine.
Well, it's difficult. How long? I mean, we've been writing elements of it for years.
So what, the follow up to Self-Aware? How long? We've got a Google Drive folder that we've basically been. That's where we post our ideas, and over the past sort of 12 months, I would say 12, 14 months, we've been solidifying that, writing together, refining parts, doing the demos. A lot of remote recording from everyone because we weren't able to see each other, but me and Henrik were in a bubble. And then putting the demos together. I would say, probably over the last 14 months, we've really grafted.
That's where it's been the really intense part. But there are songs that we've got that probably, some that are really new, some of that like we only came up with in I don't know, sort of September, October, November last year, and then there are some where a riff has been around since 2017,
yeah,
and just never turned into a song that got onto Self-Aware, but we always knew we wanted to do something with, and maybe we just couldn't organize the song, the riff, the melody, the whatever it was into what we wanted it. So we've still got other ideas that will probably not make it onto this next album, which like, well, we definitely want to work on it. We know we've got like a good song here, even stuff that's almost fully formed, but what we want to be able to do now is go out and gig test it.
Yeah, the new material, definitely, but need the world to open up first.
Yeah, I think we're all craving for those gig tests, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No one wants to have to delay anything else. Jesus Christ.
Oh, no.
So, you just mentioned your various influences there. Bit of a fun one. Who would you tour with ideally?
Well, I mean, I know who I'd say to that, who aren't either of those influences, but it's the band that we're most into at the moment.
Yeah, no, you say that, because I'm going to think differently, because we both agree on that.
Well, yeah.
We both agree on Dizzy Miss Lizzy Lee, who I've got.
Yeah, you mentioned them to me before, didn't you?
Yeah.
They were great when I checked them out. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a band who do that kind of like prog thing, but also do a bit of classic rock, a bit of pop, and have good songwriting and good melody ideas. Dizzy Miss Lizzy, their latest album, Alter Echo, from last year is just, I have not heard anything better than that album for 10 years. But yeah, I think that's at the moment, if we could jump on a tour with anybody, even though they're not so well known, we just want to go and I'd listen to that band every night of a 20-night tour, no problem. But yeah, I don't know, more mainstream, who would we there are kind of so many I'd like to go out with, but I don't know whether they would be like wholly appropriate all the time, but I don't know.
I'm just thinking of just like possible maximum exposure, just like throw the,
tactical choice rather than a one.
Tactical sometimes did.
So like, I like some of her music, but not. I mean, I think she did a really good album last year. But Miley Cyrus released that kind of
wow
80s,
I think you've just lost some of our viewers now.
Well, the thing is, she's going to have.
But she's got Billy Idol on the new album or something.
If we opened up for her, doing all that kind of stuff, we might get a few new fans.
Law of averages say you will.
Yeah, exactly. More numbers, more opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think probably a real, like we went to in 17, we went to the Guns N' Roses show in London, and they had a really, really shit support band.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember who. Even if I do remember, I'm not going to say who they are. But yeah, they were shit. And
they were just. We were in the Golden Circle, and just like I really, really like to respect anyone who's getting up there.
Yeah, of course.
But it can also be, we're all got opinions, and it's all subjective and everything. But this was objective. They were really.
They certainly weren't complimentary to a Guns N' Roses. You've got Guns N' Roses coming up. Just get a band on, do what they used to do at Wembley, where you'd have an evening with Aerosmith, Lenny Kravitz, and Stereophonics, and the Black Crowes or something. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
yes,
Twin Towers Ball. I was there.
Yeah, so or like Bon Jovi, Van Halen, Ugly Kid Joe, and Thunder, or those kind of days where the chances are, even if you didn't particularly like that band, you'd still know 4 or 5 of their songs and appreciate what they were doing. So, like, if there were bands like that, then I mean, we've seen Pearl Jam have amazing gigs and bad gigs. We've been to several of their gigs. Pearl Jam, big heroes from the acoustic and the electric side. Love to tour with them, but they don't do support bands, and I'm not sure I'd want to watch them every night.
Queens of the Stone Age, another one. I think we'd marry well with them.
Alter Bridge.
Yeah.
Even Kings of Leon, those kind of like big bands, happily, if the offer's there, yeah, I'll go.
Even like Stereophonics, if they wanted, acoustic, to say, I know you said one band each, but
it's fine. It's all good. I can't organise the tour anyway, so it's got to be hypothetical.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But go back to, let's have some fun though. Let's go back with Dizzy Lizzy Lizzy. Pick a track, we'll play it on the show. Because I think people need to hear more of them. Because I've only heard that one album.
In the Blood or
No,
Silver
because
Flame?
I've played that before in the Blood. Can we go with one of their old tracks?
Go for whatever you like, Did.
Silver Flame.
Silver Flame from
Silver
the
Flame,
Dizzy Miss Lizzy album. That would have been from about 1993 or something like that.
Oh wow, they've been going that long.
Yeah, they've been around for ages, and I think their last album was the first one they released in about 8 years.
All right.
So they've got a pretty strong back catalogue, but yeah, sadly they were never ever really known in the UK. They've only been big in Denmark, parts of Scandinavia, I think, the Netherlands, Germany, and Japan. Yeah.
All right. Well,
But
I'm up for spinning them because, like you say, Did, you introduced me to them when we last spoke, mate, and I've checked out. I've only listened to that album, to be fair. I need to go digging backwards, I think, because I did really enjoy that album. But
the next place that is the Dizzy Miss Lizzy album, the first one they released. With tracks like Silver Flame, Glory, Barbed Wire, Baby's Dream, and Hidden Wall. They're all pretty cool. So yeah, it's some good strong rock material. I think if they turned up at any festival, Ramblin' Man, Call of the Wild, Steelhouse, or anything that Planet Rock did, they would just blow the crowd away with. I can't believe they're not doing those gigs around here. It's so disappointing.
I take it you guys have never caught them live then?
I've caught them live once in 1996, but I lived in Denmark for a few years. So
okay.
I was fortunate enough that the one time they came to the town that I was living in, I got to go and see them. I had a stinking cold that day. And but I managed to get right to the front of the barrier, because that was just when they were, getting big, at least in Denmark, Scandinavia, and Europe. So yeah, I've seen them once. Did and I booked to go and see them next month to play the whole of Alter Echo, the latest album.
Yeah.
But the chances of us getting to Denmark for that to happen is pretty slim.
Yes, we had well, to be fair, we had a gig to go out into in Germany last year. Couldn't do that, and like you say, chances of getting out of the country at the moment are pretty slim. But
well, hopefully that's going to be rescheduled to a date that we can go. That's going to be postponed. So that's.
Speaking of live gigs, though, you guys have just announced your tour alongside with Mason Hill, obviously headlining, and Hollister.
Yep.
So I will see you in Cambridge and Norwich, because I'm coming to both.
Oh, brilliant!
Great.
Two places we haven't been to. I think I said to you, Lee, that we. Well, I know Cambridge well because I'm not too far away from there originally, where I grew up. But we've never played in Cambridge.
Nope.
No.
Never played in Norwich either. Actually,
I've
yeah.
been to plenty of venues. What the Cambridge is it Junction and.
Yeah, Junction at Cambridge.
Yeah.
That's
I've
good.
been to Norwich as well. I haven't played there. So this is a really good thing about this tour as well. It's really kind of the guys, Mason Hill, and everyone's really supporting each other in the build up to it. There's loads of new places that we haven't been to.
Really extensive tour that the boys are doing in support of this album.
Yeah, and it's just really nice. I mean, we're going back to the Waterloo at Blackpool, obviously, which is fantastic. We love going there. It's guaranteed a good night. But we want to play new places. We because it's new people. It's new people in that area code that, as much as we'd like to, probably haven't heard even Self-Aware. They haven't heard the music, and they'll, like you say, Lee, when you saw us for the first time at Winter's End and stuff, they might jump on the Empyre bandwagon.
Well, this is it. Like a lot of people, there's been so many bands through. I'm just talking from personal experience that I've got into because I saw them supporting someone. You might. It's not very. Don't get wrong. Very occasionally, I'll hear a track and it's enough to grab me and make me go investigate. But normally, for me, it's live is the proof of the pudding.
That's it. We think we really do the conversion best and the connection best with people, and gain supporters and the dreaded fan word, fans of our music and people who really enjoy it from being on stage. There's a whole other entity, and if people have got a good feeling after it and are really excited, they want to revisit that and come spend loads of their money at the merch table.
Well, you had quite a queue after the hangovers wore off, I noticed.
That was amazing. Planet
Yeah.
Rock. That was a 45-minute merch queue with I think 2 or 3 of the team who were on the merch desk, and then just did, and me and Elliot and Grant just lined up. I think we took up 3. Luckily, no, what's the word? Discredit, is that a word? To the band that followed us, but they didn't. They only had a few CDs, and I don't know if they had it, but it came to their merch thing. But we ended up just like, oh, can we just take some more of that space, because we basically had to do a chain of sign-in CDs, lyric sheets, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we sold out of all of the CDs, all of the T-shirts. Yeah, we sold out of pretty much everything, I think.
I was going to say, I walked past at one point to some friends of mine were outside having a cigarette after you guys played, and I went out to have a chat with them. I walked past. The queue was insane. Absolutely insane. I was like, oh man, you stood there and you're watching a band, and there's always the thing of you watching a new band, and you going, as you guys were to me then, you're thinking, oh wow, I hope everyone else, and you can see everybody going, oh, this is cool, and you think, oh, I hope, especially at that point in the morning, because I know the other band on the bill that was in similar, who I know you guys know quite well, the Rocket Dolls, obviously they were on.
Yeah, the previous,
similar sort of time, and I know Nicky quite well, and I remember Nicky was going, oh man, we were on first. Do you think anybody would be there, Leon? I'm like, well, I hope so, man. And then I hope so for you, because again, Rocket Dolls, I love them. They're great. And
I arrived just as I think I caught the last 3 or 4 of that. We were trying to get there for the beginning of their set, but traffic didn't allow it on the Saturday, because they were on like 2 o'clock-ish or no, 1:30, something like that, weren't they?
Yeah, around lunchtime.
So but they had a decent crowd there, because I remember when I walked up there with Grant, and we could only really stand at the back. There was no way we were going to be able to push to the front or anything like that in that room. So they had a good crowd. But we had the same thing. I stuck my head out from behind the curtain at 10-15 minutes before the start, and there's like 3 people in that room, and we're thinking, okay, well maybe
maybe everybody's just dead. That was the thing, especially with somewhere like Blight Winners. I mean, that was the first one I'd done. I'd not done a Planet Rock Festival before, so I wasn't entirely sure of the setup or anything. So not like Rambling Man Fair, where I've been a few times and you know how it works. But you do think, oh come on, there's some really good bands early on, and there's nothing worse than when you go watch. I remember going to watch Rival Sons at Sonosphere 2010, 2011. I'd only just sort of got into them. I sort of caught them just on the right sort of cusp, just for pure luck, just one of the things I'd heard, Pressure and Time, and then went, wow, this is for me, and did go and buy the album, and then realised that they were playing both Sonosphere Festival and High Voltage, which I was already going to. So in the space of about 2 weeks, I'd heard the band and saw them live twice.
Yeah.
But watching them at Sonosphere, that was one that sort of grew, because I don't know if you ever went to Sonosphere, but they used to put the rising stage between the 2 main stages, and then they would sort of flip between the 2 main stages. So people had to walk past the rising stage. Quite genius planning in the way they'd run it. But when we first got to watching Rival Sons, it was probably 20, 30 people around the rising stage.
Wow.
And then at one point I turned around and it was going all the way back, where people are just walking past and going, oh, hang on, what's that? And so, yeah, it's always good to see a crowd grow. Always good to see a crowd grow. Are there any festivals that you've not played that you'd like to?
Plenty.
Loads.
Yeah,
there's one called Just Push Play. We haven't.
I know the organizer. He's all right.
Yeah, if you could put in a word.
I will. I'll put in a word.
So Download. That's got to be top of the list.
Yeah, we'd love to jump on board that. I mean, any of the big Rock am Ring, the European one, if that one's done.
That's supposed to be a good one.
And there's Rock Verta as well. I think that's a big one in Europe. And what's the Danish one?
There's 2 in Denmark. There's Roskilde and there's Copenhagen. Yeah. And I mean, I played Sweden Rock, tons of rock in Norway. Basically, the
main rock events
in
any country. We'll get on a plane now.
Well, the aim for Empyre has always been that. One of the times when Did and I were just getting going, someone said, what's the main goal here? What do you want to do with the band? And our answer at the time was, we want to play the major rock festivals of Europe.
Seems fair enough.
So that's basically what,
And I'd like to go out to Japan as well. I'd like to take the band out to Japan, and then once we've done Europe, go to Japan, then we can conquer America. Well, not conquer. It's not be too empire. The British have some history there with America. But to go, yeah, basically we're a live band, you know. We love all the studio stuff and all the songwriting, but we want to just play these big events and, you know, explore new places and just play great music, and hopefully people enjoy it. And outside of the UK,
yeah,
it's great here in the UK, but we want to explore other regions of the world too.
Well, that's only natural, isn't it? You're always going to want to expand, and like you say, it goes back to what you were saying before about not playing other places, whether they're in or outside of this country. It's always good to, like you say, put your mark on new territory, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, other than Rambling Man Fair and the tour with Mason Hill, are there any more live dates lined up? I know you said you were doing one at Blackpool.
Yeah, so we've got the acoustic gig, so the other side, call it the Other Side album party, which is Blackpool, May the 30th. Sounds like Love Rocks is going ahead, so that is down Bournemouth Way in the middle of June.
That's a great show.
Sorry?
That's a great show. The organisers down there I know quite well.
Oh yeah, Jim and Jim's, great guys. They came to our Self-Aware album party, so it was great to meet them.
Cool.
and to be booked for that. We've been looking forward to that one for ages. Then July is quite a big month for us because we're doing Call the Wild. We've got Steelhouse. We've got Rambling Man. We've got a gig with Those Damn Crows at the Tivoli in Buckley on, I think, Friday the 30th. Then we're playing Savfest on August the 1st. Then we should be doing Wildfire up in Scotland on Sunday, assuming everything goes ahead, and assuming that all kind of works out. Then we got the Platform August the 14th in Morecambe with Massive Wagons, Trucker Diablo, and These Wicked Rivers.
Oh,
then we're playing Aylesbury Party in the Park,
which is the main stage.
Again, which is the main stage. So that's the kind of Aylesbury Town Fair type thing.
Yeah, it gets a lot of people there, and that's not too far from us. That's because I'm sort of Oxford way and everything. We were due to play that last year on the acoustic stage, I think, weren't we? Was it the acoustic stage?
Oh,
but then what we did was they did like an online kind of online festival. So we ended up playing in the field on camera instead. But then this year, it's going ahead, all things being well, you know, and we're on the main stage. Then September we move into Rock in the Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That's on September the 11th. That's in Sheffield. And then we've got a little tour with a band called Mason Hill and Hollistar throughout the extent of September, now extended into October.
So that's Cambridge, Sheffield, Bristol, Gravesend, Cardiff, Bradford, Blackpool, London, Manchester, Wolverhampton. That's just the first leg. What about the second leg, dear? I can't remember all of those. There's Norwich, Newcastle, Dover, Cambridge, Liverpool, Oxford. Yeah, there's loads of them.
So basically, no one across the UK has not got an excuse to not come see you at some point in the next 4 months.
Pretty much. And then we've still got HRH ABC, it's now called, rather than AOR, Planet Rock Stock. They're both the same weekend, middle of November.
12th and 14th.
Then we're back up in Scotland to do Winter Storm Festival at the end of November.
Wow.
So,
and we've got a gig in London on the 24th.
Oh yeah, we're playing Massive. Yeah, playing with Massive, and so yeah.
Back of the Black Car.
There you go. And we've probably forgotten some as well, but yeah, it is.
It says you're going on holiday in early December, don't
it? It's unlikely.
There's going to be
I might be going to hospital in the beginning of December.
There's other musical things. I don't get this. So this looks weird. What's a holiday? But I think most people are going to be so hyped to get out. I think hopefully live music is going to have a resurgence. I mean, look at the pubs have just reopened. I've got a pub in my only the back gardens. I've got a pub in my town, and because they're allowed to drink outside just with friends and stuff, they're drinking on the high street, you know. Traffic's going past, and there's like gathering as many pounds, social distance. So imagine when bands come back and live music, what that's gonna
You'd like to think that, considering how long we've been deprived of it, that scene is going to have a real fire in its gut again about it, and people are going to go out and support everything possible. Because, well, Winter's End was the last show I went to, last one I went to before lockdown, and to go well over a year now without live music for me is just unheard of. I've watched some stream things, and my wife, she's a portrait artist.
Yeah.
She had an art exhibition in September she went to, and I went and helped her set up, and then I went to go grab us a coffee and all that. And there was a guy busking in the middle of town. I honestly watched him for about half an hour because it was the closest I got to live music.
Yeah, you told me this before. Yeah,
yeah, it's so long. It was ridiculous. I just sort of, there's a guy with a guitar. I'm standing here and I'm watching it. And it was just like, I don't get me wrong. He was a talented busker. If he was, to be fair, if he was a rubbish busker, I probably still would have watched him at that point just because it was live music. But he was a talented dude. But this is a guy that probably normally I would just sort of walk past, and as a lot of people do with buskers, unless it's someone who particularly grabs your attention and going, oh, that's cool. But because of being deprived of live music, I sat and have a coffee and then went and bought my wife another one because hers was cold, and then I took it back.
Yeah, it's going to go crazy when we can all go back to doing that, and there'll probably be a dip in live streams. We on the whole live stream front, we've got one we're doing on today on release day, but
it's this show.
It's a little bit different to your standard live stream. And
then tell us about it, because it's a perfect point of plug, because as we were talking about off air, we've got the album show launch that we're going to do for you from 6 till 8, and then from 8 onwards you guys are doing your own thing on your Facebook Live event. So tell everyone about it, because why else would they not tune straight back in?
Well, we've got a few things. First of all, there's one track that we've been saving off the other side, which is My Bad Piano Acoustic. So very much in the same way that we attacked in the nicest possible way, attacked Only Way Out, and took his amazing piano skills to that.
Amazing. They're okay. Mediocre. No, they're okay.
It took My Bad and reinterpreted that. There's also another special announcement which we can't say any more about, but about the end of lockdown, and we're going to take a look back on this live stream, a sort of nostalgic look back over the course of the pandemic and lockdown as a whole, because the other side, it kind of chronicles the pandemic. The first single we released was Drive, and that was April 24th, 2020, so just a month into lockdown. And now we're releasing the album April 30th, 2021.
Just as we're coming out on the other side.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you see what he did?
Like it.
So it kind of like, if you want the music to kind of, what do they say, the soundtrack of the pandemic, in a good way, not in a good way, not in a, just like a reflective album point of, to mark. We released all singles throughout this period of time that we've been at, and culminating in this show as well, Empyre album. Special thanks for having us. And then followed by afterwards, a live stream event where you'll get to see all the band, not just me and Henrik here chatting. Everyone will be inputting there. It's a live chat as well. We're going to talk to everybody, and it's just a nice, fun way to showcase the whole album on a Friday night when we're still in a pandemic and you can't go out anywhere. So just sit on your sofa, grab a beer if you haven't already got a beer listening to this, and tune in.
And if you have got a beer listening to this, grab another one.
Yeah.
So is My Bad, obviously, like you said, you released several singles over the course of the last year in the build up to this. Is My Bad the final single that you're going to release for the other?
I'd like to think it probably, so it's not been set. Yeah, we'd like to release it in its own right. We definitely think it deserves to be a single in its own right. But there's a few things that we want to do with it, not the song, but a few things that we would like to, in terms of promo and putting it out there. We want to be able to, let's say, film a video at the very least that's going to do that song credit, like we were able to do for Any Way Out.
I say the videos that you've been releasing for the singles have been fantastic, though.
Yeah,
thanks. Thank you.
And at the minute, that's a little bit of preventative with the scale that we'd like to explore with My Bad, because with My Bad as well, because it's a piano track, there's certain opportunities there for us that we can't take advantage of at the minute. We've released Too Close, and certainly those opportunities would have to be available, you know, once we're allowed for us to start putting something together. But yeah, we wouldn't rule it out releasing My Bad, but you get to hear the track for now, so
it's good enough for anyone else, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess, well, platform yours, dude. So let's just, well, send your message out there to anyone who hasn't yet pre-ordered the album, has heard the songs on tonight's show, want to grab a copy. Platform's yours.
Well, we're 4 nice guys from Northampton. I
can vouch for 3 of them. I've talked to 3 of them. I can vouch that they're nice.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed all these acoustic tracks that Lee's kindly played, you might enjoy the electric tracks as well from our debut album, Self-Aware. So you can head to all your streaming platforms if that's the way you prefer music. You know, we're on everything. We're on Deezer, Spotify, we're on YouTube Music, we're on Tidal, I think.
Yep.
We're on all of them. If you're more of a traditionalist and you like your CDs and everything, and you like, the other side is literally a piece of art, because you can see the brush strokes on the actual album cover when it's from Zandra, Grant's wife's original, you know, hand
painting. That I saw the video for the painting for Grant. It was beautiful.
And you can have that in your for your CD collection. And we haven't got a vinyl edition yet of these albums, but that might be something we explore in the future, because there has been some demand for it. But the best place to find out about anything more about Empyre, if you're curious what we look like, because you're just hearing our voices now, is empyre.co.uk. And just, I know a lot of your listeners do request our music on this show, Lee, Stefan, you've mentioned that before. I just want to say thanks from all of us for the support and everything. It's been a tough year all round for everyone, and to take time out and support a band you like is a really positive thing. So thanks for that, and we'll certainly be looking to reward all your supportive efforts with our best performances and giving it our all when we're back out on the road touring and back on stage. We can't wait for that. So but empyre.co.uk is the best place to find all the information.
Empyre with a Y rather than an I. Should just say that.
There you go.
Because we can't spell.
And we're 4 okay guys, and just to bring it back full circle. There you go.
There you go. I feel like I'm gonna have to do an interview with Elliot now, because he's the only one I haven't talked to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want him feeling left out. Drummers always
that's a really good idea.
Drummers always get forgotten, man. I don't want him feeling left out.
No, not when I'm on stage with them. I go and give the drummer a lot of attention. I get on stand and I have to. Drums is the best instrument.
So at the beginning of this interview, we're going to play an Empyre song, obviously, and we're going to end it with an Empyre song. Your choices, dude. Henrik, pick one to open up the interview. Did pick one to close out.
Do you want acoustic or do you want electrically?
Totally up to you. I'm going to leave that one open.
I think it should be, but if it's the other side,
yeah,
I think we should both acoustic. I'm going to pick the last single we released, which is Too Close, the acoustic version of that. That's the most recent release.
I'll go with Cut to the Core.
Cool.
Yeah, acoustic. Yeah.
All right, dudes. Well, thanks for your time as always. It's been
thanks, Lee. Thanks for having us, man.
No, thank you.
And thanks for your listeners, and everyone have a good weekend. And thanks for the other side support. We'll see you on the other side of this pandemic.